Plaintiff Emily Schaefer says she was engaged to the defendant, but it only lasted 2 months because it was the biggest mistake of her life. Emily claims the defendant couldn't keep a job, and she's suing him today for a security deposit. Defendant Timothy Gilman says Emily is only suing him because she's angry that he went back to his ex after they broke up. Timothy claims he broke up with Emily because she was a heavy drinker and refused to cut back, and he's countersuing for unpaid rent.
Start with you.
So, I was engaged to this guy at one time. It was the biggest mistake of my life.
How long were you all engaged?
2 months.
Obviously, it was a mistake.
It was very quick and a
How
very
long
big
did you
mistake.
all date before becoming engaged?
A little over a year.
In 2 months, you couldn't last 2 months.
Yep.
What was the difference?
Him.
I know, but you were all right for 1 year, and then what happened within 2 months?
Oh, cheating, lying.
He wasn't doing any of that in the first year?
Yeah, I just didn't know about it
Gotcha.
the first year.
All right.
Yeah.
Because you all moved together, obviously, at some point.
Correct.
All right, and how did it culminate in the breakup? Was there a specific event?
Well, it was a specific fight.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so we had gotten in a fight regarding money because he couldn't keep a job the whole time we were together. He had had a job sporadically. He had actually recently just got another job. He was supposed to pay the bills that were coming up due. And right before he got his first paycheck, 5 o'clock in the morning, he's getting ready to leave to go to work, and he said, "Get the out of this house, or I'm going to leave you stranded, high and dry, and not pay a dime."
And what was that about? What was the argument
Money.
about? Okay.
Money.
Sir, you want to give me some background?
Your Honor, I truly believe we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Emily being jealous of me getting back together with my ex after we had broken up. She had accused me multiple times
So
of cheating.
you think that if you went back, that everything would be fine, she wouldn't sue you?
I wouldn't say that. I
Oh,
wouldn't
then
say it
you
would be fine.
be here anyway. Unless you go back. You want to go back or pay this money?
I don't want to go back or pay the money.
Oh,
Your
okay.
Honor.
Well, I'm going to make you do one or the other.
No.
And I don't know which one it is
No
yet.
way.
May make you go back. Go ahead.
You know, when Emily and I first got together, I mean, we were perfect. I mean, we'd finish each other's sentences. We didn't have any problems. I mean, we clicked. We were, you know, just like each other's grease on the squeaky wheel. I mean, it was perfect. Then once we...
I'm going to leave that alone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Once we moved in together, Emily started drinking quite a bit, and I came up, you know, in a household that had an alcoholic, and I told her basically it was either me or the alcohol. So respectively.
How'd you drive her to drinking?
What's that?
How did you drive her to drinking?
Well, like she said, when we first got together, I actually had a very good job, didn't know that the company was in any financial problems, and actually lost my job. Found a job, but it was middle of winter, trying to lay asphalt. Two of them don't mix.
So it was legitimately the financial issues.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I told her, you know, point blank, either, you know, you quit drinking or one of us has to go. And
Did she say either you go to work?
Well,
or one of us has to go?
Well,
I
the
mean,
thing was, she did. She quit. She cut down her drinking hugely.
and you didn't go to work though.
I went to work.
So why'd you all break up then? If the finances
because the
recovered,
drinking came back, and I grew up in a household like that, and I didn't want to. I told her.
she got better.
Wow.
Nonetheless, one of the lessons here is it sounds like you weren't financially secure enough to get engaged/married, because that's what destroyed the relationship. Security deposit you're suing for. How does he owe for a security deposit?
I paid for the security deposit as well as the first month's rent, as well as all the rest of the bills after he lost his job right after we moved in.
What was the agreement?
It was
if you're
understood I would
engaged,
get the deposit back.
And what happened?
Well, I moved out in February. He stayed on. At the end of the year lease, I tried to get off the lease at the middle of the lease, and the landlord said I could not get off. So I asked at the end of the lease, can I have my deposit back? I sent him a text about that. He was yelling at me, screaming at me on the text message, on voicemail, saying that I was trying to put him and his kids out on the street.
But you get the deposit back from the landlord.
Correct, but I talked to him first, and then I called the landlord and I said, well, this is what I want. And then I found out later that day my brother had passed away, and
Sorry to hear
it got sidebarred at that point.
How long ago was that?
August of 12, when the lease was up.
Why haven't you gotten the
I've been trying to get money out of him
from the landlord?
No, out of him. When
No, the
he moved
landlord
out of the
owes
house,
you.
yeah, when he moved out of the house, finally, I talked to the landlord, and the landlord said there was no deposit left because he trashed the house.
Okay. And he attributed it all to him?
Correct.
Because you lived there how long?
I was there for 6 months.
And he was
At the
there
end
how
of the
long?
year, the landlord
and
went
he
in.
was how long?
He went another year
I was
and a
in the
half
house
after
for
that.
3 years, just to bring up the fact the house was a 1937 farmhouse, which is now being completely
Did
remodeled.
the landlord give you a list of the damages that were deducted?
No, it was after he re-signed
Did
the
he
lease.
give you a list?
Yes, sir. He said the floor needed to be replaced in the kitchen.
What else?
That was it.
Did he tell you that?
He said that the floor looked like they had left water in the kitchen floor and just let it sit for days.
Is that what happened?
No, sir.
What happened?
No idea. Didn't even notice the floor had any weak spots or anything wrong with it. And then I had moved 4 hours away from that home when I got the letter saying that the floor was ruined.
And it wasn't ruined when she moved out.
No.
Okay. Well, she didn't have anything to do with that, and she should have gotten her deposit back because she didn't cause any of the damages, or the damage wasn't caused while she was living there. So had she received the deposit back absent your damage, she would have gotten all her money back. It was your damage that caused her to lose her deposit.
But, Your Honor, she did not pay all the move-in expenses.
Deposit. Did she pay the deposit?
No, I helped. I have a check right here from the house I
Let's
sold.
see. And
prior
you
to
say you
us
paid
moving
how
in.
much?
I paid $2,400 total.
Deposit.
$1,200 for the deposit.
This says something about $3,000. What does
Yes,
that
sir.
have to do with a $1,200 deposit?
That was the house I sold. I had the check made out into Emily's
No,
name.
that has nothing to do with a deposit.
Right, this is the house I sold for us to move
I don't
into
know what
this
that's
house.
about. I have no idea
Right.
how that relates
Right, that
to
was-
her paying her deposit
Mm-hmm.
to the landlord for the place that both of you all lived in, and then you damaged it, causing her to lose her deposit.
But that's the thing, Your Honor, is that there was the
Yeah,
house.
this is the thing
I
that
sold.
had nothing to do with this.
But I sold that house,
Your
Your Honor.
counterclaim is for $3,600 for unpaid rent. How does she owe you for that?
She never came off the lease. And I truly believe that she was responsible for half of the rent. And
Okay. Did she abandon the lease?
when I came home that afternoon when she was moving, I had no idea that she was even leaving.
She left without notice to
Right.
you. All right, ma'am.
That morning, when he came home, the morning of that he had come home to find me packing was the morning he said, "Get the out, or I'm going to abandon you here with all the bills and leave you high and dry."
Did
So
you say
I
that?
started packing
No,
my
I
stuff.
left before she got up and went shooting with some friends for a friend's birthday.
Shooting what?
Guns. It was a Saturday morning.
Yeah, I would have left too. You're right. You did right. You did right, doctor.
It was actually a work day. I went to work. My boss actually paid for the
And he
boxes.
definitely didn't say all that to you. He talked
No.
that slick to you, and you got pistols.
Yeah,
And
no.
get out or else. And I don't believe he said that, ma'am.
I didn't go to a gun range. I went to work that morning.
All right. He
It was on
says you went
February
to the gun
17th.
range. So you say you all were there. You all were arguing. He says, get out or what?
Or he's going to leave and not pay a dime, and he was supposed to pay all the bills that
So
month.
you complied with that and you got
out.
out. He says you abandoned it, meaning you didn't leave because of that. But what I am going to conclude is that it was such a toxic environment that you all could not remain there together. It's called constructive eviction. You couldn't remain there together because it may have become violent. So I'm going to conclude that you should have left. As such, you all are mutually responsible and therefore mutually responsible for the debt. However, you should have mitigated this debt by getting a new roommate within a reasonable amount of time.
I tried, Your Honor, and I couldn't because I had a teenage daughter that I had custody of living in the home, so I just couldn't put anybody into my home.
Was there a teenage daughter while you were there?
There was.
All right, so as he says, he couldn't. It wasn't reasonable. He could have, but it wouldn't have been reasonable. 3,600 divided by 2 is what?
$1,800, Your Honor.
It's $1,800, yeah.
I can't count. That's why I became a lawyer. He can't even count with a calculator. So thank God we have you today. And that security deposit I'm going to grant to her because I believe you were at fault in the damages that took her security deposit. $1,200 for you, $1,800 for the half of the rent that you want from her.
36 is half the rent.
Is that correct? If you stayed, you would have owed what?
I would have myself paid $3,600. I actually would have
Okay,
paid
well,
the
then that's
entire
his-
thing
you're
because
right.
he didn't have a job. and didn't pay the bill.
$3,600 for the defendant because you all were mutually responsible for the lease. You were arguing, fighting, going to gun ranges, you telling her to get out, she's mad. You all couldn't have stayed together. I'm determining it was unsafe and unreasonable to make you stay together based on the facts I'm hearing. So that being the case, $3,600 for you and $1,200 for you. Have a good day, folks. That's it.
Thank you.
He cheated on me throughout the whole thing. He was a big piece of garbage. Frankly, I paid all the bills while we were there, and he's just out to get a buck like he always is and take advantage of everybody.
She didn't pay all the bills because she lived in my house before we moved into the house in question, which I paid all the bills for. And I never once cheated on her when we were together, not once.